Welcome to Moments in History channel. Today, we're diving into one of the greatest stories ever told, a tale of gods, heroes, and a city lost to fire and war. We're talking about the legendary Trojan War. Was it real history, pure myth, or something in between? Let's find out. For thousands of years, the Trojan War has captured our imagination. We all know the basics: a 10-year siege, the beautiful Helen of Troy, the mighty Achilles, the cunning Odysseus, and of course that giant wooden horse. This epic conflict, a cornerstone of Western literature, feels larger than life. But what if I told you there's a real, historical kernel buried beneath all that myth? The story is most famously told in Homer's epic poem, the Iliad. Written around the 8th century BCE, it describes the final year of a brutal war between a coalition of Greek kingdoms and the powerful city of Troy. According to the myth, the war started when Paris, a Trojan prince, abducted Helen, the wife of Menelaus, the king of Sparta. In response, Menelaus' brother, King Agamemnon of Mycenae, assembled a massive Greek army to sail across the Aegean Sea and bring Helen back. For 10 long years, the Greeks laid siege to the impenetrable walls of Troy, a conflict filled with divine meddling from gods like Zeus, Hera, and Apollo, and the incredible feats of legendary heroes like Achilles and Hector. But is that all it is? A good story? For centuries, that's what most people thought. Troy was considered a mythical place, like Atlantis or El Dorado. Then, in the 1870s, a determined German businessman and amateur archaeologist named Heinrich Schliemann came along. Obsessed with Homer's epics since childhood, Schliemann was convinced that Troy was a real place, and he was going to find it. He focused his search on a large mound in modern-day Turkey called Hisarlik. As he began to dig, he uncovered not just one city, but multiple layers of ancient settlements, one built on top of the other, spanning thousands of years. It was a treasure trove of history. Schliemann sensationally declared he had found the Troy of Homer, and even claimed to have discovered Priam's treasure, a cache of gold and silver artifacts. While his methods were often destructive and his claims exaggerated, Schliemann had proven one crucial thing. A powerful, fortified city had indeed existed right where Homer's Troy was said to be. Modern archaeology has since refined our understanding of Hisarlik. We now know there are at least 9 major layers of the city, each representing a different period. The layer that has drawn the most attention from historians is known as Troy VIIa. This layer is dated to the early 12th century BCE, around 1190 to 1180 BCE, which lines up perfectly with the traditional date of the Trojan War. And what did archaeologists find in Troy VIIa? Evidence of destruction. Widespread fire, arrowheads embedded in the walls, and skeletons left in the streets all point to a violent end. A city sacked and burned after a siege. So we have a real city in the right place, destroyed at the right time. Does this mean the Trojan War happened exactly as Homer described? Probably not. The gods walking on the battlefield and half-divine heroes are almost certainly the stuff of myth. But the core event, a major war between the Mycenaean Greeks and the Trojans, looks increasingly plausible. This was the Late Bronze Age, a turbulent time of empires collapsing and widespread conflict across the Mediterranean. The Mycenaean civilization in Greece was a collection of powerful palace states ruled by a warrior elite, just like the heroes described by Homer. They were a maritime power, known for both trade and raiding. So if it wasn't really about a beautiful queen, what could have been the real cause of the war? The answer, as it so often is, might be money and power. Troy's location was incredibly strategic. It sat at the mouth of the Dardanelles, the narrow strait that connects the Aegean Sea to the Black Sea. Any ship wanting to trade with the resource-rich regions around the Black Sea had to pass by Troy. By controlling this passage, Troy could have acted as a gatekeeper, demanding tolls and dominating the lucrative trade routes. For the ambitious Greek kingdoms, Troy might have been a major economic rival, an obstacle that needed to be removed. A war to break Troy's control over this vital trade artery makes a lot of historical sense. Another theory suggests the war wasn't a single 10-year event, but rather the climax of a long series of smaller conflicts. The Late Bronze Age saw massive movements of people often called the Sea Peoples, who raided and destabilized established empires. The Greeks themselves may have been part of these movements. The Trojan War could have been a memory of one particularly large and destructive raid, or a composite story blending together generations of smaller-scale warfare into one grand, epic narrative. And what about the heroes? Figures like Agamemnon, Menelaus, and Odysseus were kings of real Mycenaean centers, like Mycenae, Sparta, and Ithaca, while the individuals from the Iliad are likely mythic creations. They represent the type of powerful warrior kings who ruled during that era. They led armies, sought glory in battle, and accumulated wealth through conquest and trade. The heroic code of honor, fame, and courage that drives the characters in the Iliad likely reflects the real values of the Bronze Age warrior aristocracy. The story of Achilles choosing a short, glorious life over a long, forgotten one speaks volumes about what these ancient cultures prized. The fall of Troy, whether through a clever trick like the Trojan horse or a brutal final assault, marked a turning point. Shortly after the traditional date of the war, the entire Bronze Age world of the Eastern Mediterranean collapsed. The great Mycenaean palaces in Greece were destroyed, writing was lost, and the region entered a dark age that lasted for centuries. The Trojan War, in a way, became a story about the end of an era, a final, glorious flash of the heroic Bronze Age before it all came crashing down. When Greek civilization re-emerged centuries later, the stories of Troy were preserved through oral tradition, passed down from one generation of bards to the next. Homer didn't invent these stories. He inherited them and crafted them into the timeless masterpieces we know today. For the ancient Greeks, the Trojan War was their foundational story. It explained who they were and where they came from. It was a shared cultural memory that united them, a tale of pan-Hellenic pride where their ancestors came together to defeat a powerful foreign enemy. So, in the end, the Trojan War is a beautiful and complex blend of history and mythology. We have a real war-torn city and a historical context of conflict over trade and power. Layered on top of that is a brilliant story of honor, revenge, divine drama, and human tragedy. The line between fact and fiction is blurred, perhaps intentionally. The story wasn't just meant to be a historical record. It was meant to inspire, to teach, and to explain the world. It shows us how ancient people remembered their past, transforming historical events into enduring myths that could speak to the core of the human condition. The Trojan War may have started with a real-world clash of swords and shields, but it has survived for 3,000 years because of the power of its story. What do you think? Was the Trojan War a real historical event, or is it purely a product of masterful storytelling? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this journey into the ancient past, don't forget to like, subscribe to Moments in History channel, and hit that notification bell for more historical mysteries. See you next time.